two different styles of living, completely. You got to realize each of these categories are real things, they're not just theories. You got to make the abstract real, and then astrology comes alive. So then for each season, they divide it, each season divides into 3 sections. The first sign of each season is the cardinal sign. So once you see they're projecting, they're reflecting, then you see they're going to be the aggressive, dynamic people pushing to make things happen. Those are the cardinal signs. They're driving to make things happen. They'll push, they'll force things. Aries, Cancer, feminine, they've got to have a home, they're going to force things, but even though it's by their brooding, they're still forcing it. Libra, by sharing. Capricorn, by planning and controlling. So Aries, by forcing, by energy, I'm just going to do it. So but these signs these are the dynamic. So the next category is that, am I in a dynamically driving, after I project or reflect, am I doing this dynamically and competitively and assertively? Or is it in a fixed sign? When I'm not pushing, I have these attitudes, I'm just going to stay the same way, this is the way I am, the world's crazy, but I'm staying this way. You see the fixed element coming in to affect that planet. And as it comes in to affect that planet and that level of consciousness, you can begin to see or intuit the behavioral patterns associated with it. And when you see someone with a bad problem, sometimes someone's problem is linked up to just one layer. Someone might have their independence or their responsibility together, and but they don't project when they should, or they're stubborn, but they're not talking themselves out of it, and they're not allowing themselves to be fixed. So somebody's either cardinal, pushy, fixed, determined, or mutable and very adaptable, and trying all the different ways, multifaceted, manipulative, perceptive. So the cardinal signs are I'm into being and making my attitudes and my feelings work. The fixed signs are having and using. I have this, I'm going to use this, I want it to stay like this, I don't want it to be disrupted. That stability is there. The mutable signs see, this is boring, I want to do this way, but I want to do that. Let's do 5 things. Why just choose one? And so they're going to be more perceptive, manipulative. I can see how people are going to react to what I'm going to do, so I'll adjust what I'm going to do to get the reaction I want. And so they're very diversified in their responses or their use of energy. So to a cardinal sign, diversified means spaced out, going too many directions. To a fixed sign, it means spacey. But to a mutable sign, the fixed signs look stubborn and slow, and the cardinal sign is too pushy and aggressive. And each one of these categories, the modes, are very easy to see: the dynamic, the determined, and the understanding or transformative or adaptable side of the mutable. So that's our next category. Is it in this? And so if your moon's in that category, it's supposed to mean this, I think it means this, here's how I see it in my life. Or if you don't see it, well, I've never seen it. I've always been the opposite. I would always do like this, and you might be seeing yourself as the opposite of that, which is, whoa, a source of, you can be that. You can be the opposite. You can be different than you're supposed to be, but you're not going to be as healthy or as happy if you are. So if you're being different than you're supposed to be, you're mutable. Your moon might be mutable, but you're acting like it's fixed and everything's locked in. It's not going to keep you healthy. It'll accumulate. So the cardinal, fixed, mutable, the modes, those are very strong associations to go through next. Then you have the elements. So we've gone through freedom, responsibility, increasing or decreasing. Then you have freedom is greater, responsibility is greater, light and dark greater. Then you have the seasons. Then you have the projecting and reflection of masculine and feminine. You project it or you reflect on it. Then you have the cardinal, fixed, mutable, which of those it is. And then you have the element. The fire is active, trying to burn energy. Let's do this. Let's make things happen. It's proud. It shows off the energy. And that pride or that enthusiasm will come in to affect another layer of that planet. And then the air signs, these again the masculine one, their thinking and their talking and their communication skills are going to come in and affect the nature of that planet. And some planets will respond very well to being an air sign, and some planets will have more difficulty being mental rather than emotional or practical or whatever. So then you have the water signs, the emotional signs, the romantic, the sensuous. Every sign can be sensuous in its own way, but these are really emotional, sensitive, and very judgmental. They take everything personally. They're very sensitive, but they can be smothering or doting or catering, or they can be very vindictive. They can be very jealous, passionate, or it's irrational, it's emotional. They feel their way. So that quality comes in on the planet. Each of these qualities adds a very different style to the way that planet's going to work. It's going to produce a different attitude coming in. And it's worth taking some time to think of it separately, each one of these separately. Once you've done each step, you're thinking in depth of a planet and a sign. Once you've gone through each depth, then it'll begin, the pieces will begin to merge together, and you'll get an integral sense of how it works, and can talk to someone and be ready to jump into any one of these categories whenever it's useful. So then you have the earth signs, the down-to-earth practical. It's sensuous, it's very tactile, earth signs, but they're not emotional or they're not judgmental in the same way. They're practical, matter of fact. So the earth, the Virgo, the Taurus, the Virgo, and the Capricorn are the earth signs. So this is a whole very different quality than the enthusiastic, fiery energy to burn fire signs, or the communicative, got to talk, think air signs, the bubbling air signs, or the emotional, moody water signs. These are practical, down to earth signs. I'm not emotional. I'm not this. Here's how it is. But it can be very sensitive because it's very touch sensitive, physical. Most of the earth signs, they have a practical sense about their health and their body, and they don't really want to get old, especially the Virgos, Michael Jackson, for example. But then the last point that we go over, there's many other categories you can add. These are the basic 6 or 7, basic 7, the planetary rulerships. Now, here there's a lot of distinction in astrology. When we learn astrology in the Western way, we see Uranus rules Aquarius and Neptune rules Pisces and Pluto rules Scorpio. And basically it says all Uranus, but it's disproportionate. All Aquarians are eccentric, all Pisces are drunks or spaced out, and all Scorpios are Pluto demonic. It's not correct, it's too extreme. These are the outer planets. Their presence can be there, but they don't really deserve the nobility of rulership. So I started doing it, then slowly I backed up because it's encouraging to say negative things about people and about the signs. So they might have association to it, but really it's the planets, the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets that you can see are the main planets in the zodiac. Each one, the sun and moon have their own sign that they rule, but Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, each has a masculine and a feminine sign, a projective and a reflective way of expressing itself well. There's a beautiful poetry to this. It takes time to learn it. But the planet that rules the sign is like the guardian angel of the sign. If you have something in Aries, Mars rules Aries. It's important to be physically fit in energy and use your energy and not be told what to do. If it's a Taurus, it's important to be more determined and evaluate things more. It's ruled by Venus. So the rulership of the planet, it's the test of whether you're living that planet. So if you have something in Aries, whether Mars is working nobly and courageously, or is it working selfishly or mean or hurting people? Like, however, doesn't mean you're going to use the good side of it, but it's telling you which planet is telling you you have to learn those lessons and build up, if it's Mars, strength, courage, nobility, not hurt people. And as opposed to just pushy, bully, fight, and be insensitive. And growing up from a kid to an adult, you'll get all different levels of those experiences, and hopefully the better ones will prevail on your understanding, which depends on whether your understanding is lined up to it. So here you're seeing more distinctions. So it's very important that planetary ruler is like the guardian angel of a sign. So if you have something in Cancer, the moon and one's sense of security is going to affect that planet, that moon, that Mercury, that Venus, that Mars. It's going to affect it at that level of consciousness. And in a quality, or you can have it in an elevating way or a degenerative way, in a growth way. It's our nature of using our chart to elevate our nature so we can come out of being human animals to evolve our nature to to live like the gods, or to follow the gods' examples and live more divinely. And that improves our life. This is just thoughts interwoven with astrology forever. So the planetary rulers are very important. The sun with Leo. Anything in Leo is going to be affected by your pride and your sun. If your self-esteem is down, that planet will be really seriously affected. If you do something with that planet that goes against your self-esteem and your confidence, wow, it'll go against it in a big way until you learn to change it. Learn to evolve it, mature it, make it work properly. To make it work properly, you need knowledge, Mercury, you need wisdom, Jupiter, you need experience, Mars, you need to evolve values. Whew. So this is where it starts spreading out into experience in life. And I'm not much of a politician, and I don't even like to individualize countries, because I'm really a strong individualist. Each individual runs into life, has their own matrix, and evolves the matrix. And every now and then you can bite the bullet and the matrix can disappear, but you're going to reconstruct your own matrix on another level with the same energies. And this is part of the factors of growth. So you can use your chart at any age. When we get into timings, you see this more, how each person uses these at any age. So right now it's enough to see the planet, get to understand the planet and to see it as unique, and how its unique problems come, or potentials come, by being in a certain sign, and how each of these categories have a very real factor. The only way you're going to do this is by anchoring yours, because everyone else is somewhat speculative. You can do that later, but right now just do yours and make sure it's real. Is this true? Is this real? You have to work this. So for next week, you have to work with them. You're going to take the moon worksheets, which I'll be sending you those tonight, the planetary worksheets, and you take there's going to be one for each moon in each sign, one for each planet, and there's going to be 12 for each planet, but you're only going to use the one for your chart. And imagine you just keep them as a backup, because you can use them other times for others if you want to, but for the classes. And I want you to work over the next week on taking the moon, thinking about the things that the moon are, and try to see how your moon is affected. Not how your moon affects the sign, how that sign and how each of these categories is pouring into the moon and affecting its attitude, affecting the way it works, and affecting how it decides. It's not what you're doing that's in the houses, it's the attitude to it. And attitudes are hard things to change or evolve. When someone has a bad attitude, how do you fix it? Well, first you have to see what attitude works for them, and then you have to see what are the growth sides and how do you get to the lessons to prove the better sides. I mean, this is so useful in any kind of reformatory or prison or psychology. I mean, psychology without astrology is, well, in 20 years it'll seem like it's almost black magic. Where it's without taking the personal person in play and what works for them. Oh. Then you have the standard. If that's going to work for them, how do I reach them on what works for them, not what I want them to be? So this is all about you and what levels work for you. And then once you see this works for me, you'll then see who's been reinforcing it, who's been fighting it. It just happens by the energy between people, whether someone is, a lot of people are struggling with you and they wouldn't even be conscious of it. It's not what they're doing to me, it's how come I'm attracting this and I'm approaching it with a resistance or with a way that's not in my nature. Or how do I use my nature more to deal with these things more naturally?